Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I wanted to pop on and talk about alignment and perceived value. Why this is so important in your spiritual business, and I'm going to share a story about what £1,000 spending £1,000 on a nutritionist at one point taught me. Okay, so one of the things that I see, a word that I see used a lot, and we talk a lot about in healing, we talk about in our business, we talk about it to do with law of attraction, is alignment. And I have my own thoughts on alignment because a lot of people talk about just raising their vibration, right? And then they'll be aligned to something, right? But I also believe that it's not just about raising your vibration, it's about unlocking and becoming more of who you actually are, right? So it's about getting rid of the layers. And of course, as you raise your vibration and you clear things, that more of you is revealed. But what sometimes when I'm talking to people and I read things by maybe other marketers or coach or healers, there is often this perception that if you keep raising your vibration, you're going to make you aligned. You can align yourself to a certain type of client. And I'll be honest, that I think some of that is flawed, and I'll explain why. So it's like when I talk about soul clients that are really aligned with you, right? Particularly at soul level, and they're here to work with you and often do a lot of good work with you. You cannot force certain types of clients to be aligned to you. First of all, it's just like a relationship. You can't make someone love you. You can't make someone force them on a spiritual path to work with you. If they're meant to work with you, obviously they'll work with you. And the more that you can demonstrate that you are aligned with a certain audience, they're more likely to buy from you. But you can do all sorts of things and raise your vibration, but if that person's not meant for you in a relationship and they are different in personality and they have different ideas and core values, they're not going to be an exact match. And it's the same in business, right? So alignment comes in all shapes and sizes. And in business, we can all attract people that we're not aligned, and I'll explain. That comes in many reasons. Sometimes we just get people who come for the freebies or the low-cost products, but they're not actually what we call our soul clients. So some people assume just because someone buys off us, they're automatically all our soul clients. No, it doesn't work like that. We have different levels to when people purchase from us and what they invest in and how they value what we do. And it's the same as when we hire in people to help us, to support us, to do contract work. Some of them can be aligned in some ways, and there's some things maybe not, and they may be, aligned with some of our core values, and there's some of them that are not. Just like I sometimes meet people who love my products and services and love everything about it. There's other people who like parts of my product service, other stuff's maybe not their cup of tea, and that's okay, right? When you are in alignment with yourself and your gifts, right, it's much easier to become aligned with your audience. So that's the first important point. The second point is understanding the perceived value of your products and services to your ideal audience. And every single person has a different ideal audience, right? And they have a different perceived value. So for example, I could have 100 people in front of me that are all doing Reiki. And many of their clients may look at them all completely different. First of all, they are all different. Some of them may do other things in the Reiki. They might channel other things, or they may be really experienced. Some might not be so experienced. Some people may have a certain quality, or they might be in a certain location. They might do things a certain way. And each of that equates to perceived value, So, for example, you might be shocked, but I don't bat an eyelid. Well, I'm not saying I don't bat an eyelid, but I've invested £500 in a session for a healing session when it's been someone that is basically a master healer, right? I go on quality and where I get the benefits and who I feel is going to most help me. And I learned this a long time ago, and I learned it over a lot of things that didn't work for me. And I also learned that just because someone says they're worth something and they believe the perceived value is something, doesn't mean that that perceived value is going to be that perceived value for me. There's lots of things I've invested that I would say was a complete waste of money and that it wasn't worth that. But there's other things that I've said, I've invested lots of money, I've spent thousands of pounds in something, and I've actually said it equates to a lot more. Now, I'm trying to think when it was. I think it would be 2011, but I might be a year out. But say it was 2011. I got really, really ill that year, and what started to happen, I started to have a lot of internal bleeding, and I couldn't digest food. I really, really struggled, and the very few things that I could eat was actually steamed fish. Right now, it's a strange thing, but there were so many things we couldn't, and the doctors were trying everything because they didn't know. So you can imagine I was losing a lot of weight and I had a lot of internal bleeding. Now, at the same time, I had a mass in my breast, right? And intuitively, I knew that something was quite serious and I needed to do something else. Now, obviously, I've always went down the holistic route, and the holistic route has always gave me more help, support, and gave me, how could you say, a better education and insight of what's going on than ever than the mainstream medicine for lots of reasons, right? And I learned a lot through that, right? I learned how, and also even through my journey, even people that maybe didn't know or didn't understand, I understand how there's so many different things that can go on. But what happened at the time was I had this real strong inner guidance that I had to do something quite fast. Right? I just knew a core level, and that I knew that mainstream medicine, for some reason, were not going to be able to really help me. Right? It wasn't just in my head; it was at a soul level. I knew I had to do something, but the problem was I was unable to work, and I didn't have any money. Because I had spent all my income through the years on so many people that also made promises and made implications that could help me. It didn't help me. I had no money. But the problem also was I felt I couldn't possibly go to my parents. I never ever asked my parents for money, but my parents were done always what they could to do with my health because I was one of 9 and they saw how my life was compared to the rest of my family. And they knew there was lots of things in my life that I maybe needed extra support. So I was never someone who ever asked, and I always tried to be as independent as I possibly could. And I just couldn't because I felt that they had sacrificed so much in their life for my health when I was younger. So I thought, right, I'm going to have to try and juggle some credit cards here, right? Because what happened, I decided I had looked at a clinic before, and it was the Optimum Health Clinic for ME. And I wasn't going just because I had a diagnosis of ME was part of what some of the challenges I'd previously had or anything. But there was a few things that I felt that I could get done that may help me identify a few things that was not available elsewhere. I had went down a lot. I'd got a lot of nutritional tests, and I'd got a lot of allergy tests, and I'd got a lot of all sorts of blood tests privately, right? Which did reveal so many things that still to this day mainstream medicine has never done for me. But and I instinctively knew what I needed to do. And I went on, and they wanted to try and push me to buy a whole package. But I knew I didn't need the rest of the package because a lot of it was, I could teach. It was like teaching a granny suck eggs, basically. But also, I just knew at that point what I really needed, right? And I was being guided. And I picked this. They had all different consultants that work within that. And you get to, first of all, what happens is they do a whole analysis. So I think the questions were quite a few hundred questions you have. And what they do is they then put you in categories, and they look at to see what else is going on and maybe what category that you fit into. And if maybe there's other things that's going on that may be impacting, you know, what's going on. So I was put into a category that was very clear that they knew that there was other things going on and that my case wasn't a straightforward case. So I was allocated this nutritionist. She was great. She was quite young. She had maybe, you know, she had still quite a bit of experience in it, but she was very passionate, and she had also had ME herself. Right. Now, I invested, I think it was quite a few thousand I invested. It was a lot for a nutritionist. It would be a lot more than a normal nutritionist because it was highly specialized. But it wasn't just that. They told me that if I went into this category, that a holistic doctor they would give it to someone who was basically a bit of a hotshot and let her see all my tests. So you get all these different tests done, and you done lots of things to demonstrate what was going on, and you also sent them medical stuff. And it was the first £1,000 that I spent was the best money and I'm not saying at that point there was other things, but what I would say it was really one of the best investments that I'd ever made. Because at that point, this doctor was able to identify something that had been going on for me pre-birth that the doctors didn't pick up on. It didn't have, I suppose the NHS didn't have the money, nobody had the awareness, nobody had the, I suppose, insight or looking at the information the way that she did. She picked up on something right away. So I got information quite right away, and they didn't say it definitely was, but they said, we think this, and it was that I had a missing enzyme, and an enzyme that would impact my ability and my to produce collagen easily. It would be something that would cause problems in the collagen creation and also the healing process to do with collagen, right? And it also showed that how certain types of collagen my body would struggle with, right? So it wasn't straightforward, and there was lots of other factors that could interfere. Now, that demonstrated to me that sometimes we use our instincts and we go with things, right? But one nutritionist, another nutritionist in another situation could have never gave me that information, right? And yeah, another nutritionist might have only cost me £50 or £60, right? But would they have got to the root of the problem? No, they were experts. This was a clinic that specialised in getting the best people and getting to the root of the problem. They'd done enough analysis, they asked enough questions to try and be specific enough for the person, right? When you're buying something, we all have a perception of what that product and service we want it to do, right? When you're creating a soul-aligned business and a spiritual business, it's important that you are aligned with what that audience expectations are in relation, and that you are selling and you're clear about exactly what they get from your products and service and maybe what they don't. Now, there was things in that session that was clear they told me that I wouldn't get or I might not get, right? Until they were clear about some of the things that would, you know, what information I would get, and some of the things they might not be able to help. So we're very clear. And that's one of the things that, so when I go to invest, I like to see a background on someone. I like to see their about page. I want to get a wee bit more details, but I want to see what, if it's a course, for example, I want to see what's in it, what may be not in it, and what level is it aimed at. And I want to get to know a wee bit more of the person to find out how much level. I looked into this woman, looked at her background, look at the types of training she'd done. You know, she had obviously a degree, but she had advanced studied, she'd done lots of things, and she worked in specialised clinics. So I made sure I'd done my background to know that when I was invested in this person. One of the biggest problems today is many people don't put the right information on maybe their website or whatever when they're trying to solve a difficult problem for a client, or they're trying to help a client with a difficult problem, right? And if your product or service, if you're selling it above average price, you want to make sure that you're clear, what it is that your audience is getting. Right? Now, a lot of healers automatically say, but I can't possibly tell a client what they're going to receive. Now, if that's the case, are you building your business around a solution? And a business is only built around a solution. And I understand what you mean as well, because obviously I'm a healer of 30 years. But you've got to understand what your strengths and your gifts is. And at least what is the type of things that most clients experience. By saying that most clients experienced it is one thing, right? Of course, there may be some things that your modality may not solve, but that might not be then your area of expertise or the area that you're here to focus on, because it's always about focusing on your zone of genius, the thing that you're absolutely amazing at. Right? So that's the first thing, right? But you have to understand perceived value. And it's like, some people say, well, I will invest, if it's a yoga class or a meditation class, I'm only going to invest the standard rate. I don't agree with that either. For example, if I go to look for a meditation class, it's not about the price. It's about the level of awareness, the level of skill, the understanding, the insight in that person, right? So when we look at things like mindfulness and meditation, some people just go in and scratch the surface and they're only teaching from the basic surface. They're not teaching on a deep level. And yeah, that may be fine for some people, your audience who's the beginning level and who are quite happy with it. That's perfect. But you may have an audience that actually expects more or wants more, right? Or you may think that's your audience, but it's not, because they actually want more. So this is so important, because through the years, I've met so many lovely healers, coaches, and therapists, and often if they've heard me explain a challenge I've had, they've said, but I do that as if I'm automatically going to go to them. But I may not go to them for a variety of reasons. It may be that I think, or maybe they don't specialise in my area, they don't know enough about that or whatever. And you've got to understand that for your clients as well. And it's about never taking it personal, because a lot of people are so attached to their business. They take it personally if certain people they know don't invest in them, right? And if we really want to create a soul-aligned business, we have to let the ego dissolve in that area and understand that it's about what's best for that person and what that person feels is most aligned. Because I can feel aligned on a personal level to so many of the people that I work with, and I have so many friends, spiritual friends, healers, coaches, therapists in the industry. Most of them know I am very fussy about who gets into my energy field, who I work with. I'm very fussy, and it's for lots of reasons, but also it's about time. If I'm going to invest time and money, I want to be investing it in what feels right for me and where I'm guided, right? But it's also to me about what I feel I need and what I expect, because sometimes I have quite high expectations now, being in the industry, and that's my choice, right? Now, there's other things that I invest in, and I invest in local people, and they're excellent. One of the people that I've invested over the years many times, and she's a good friend of mine, is Irene Smith, who she's an amazing therapist, a body therapist, and for certain things she's kind of sorted me out. If I put my back out, put my hip out, for things to do with, because I had, as someone who's been, as a baby, had cranial issues and spinal issues, and had, had a bad cox fall when I was younger, I had lots of sort of things with my balance and things at times. So she's been great, and she is perfect, and she's a thorough effect, and I really value her, right? But then there's other things I've went to and invested, and the only reason I invested in that person was they specialised, and they got me, or they understood, or they had more insight. Another person I invested who's actually in the group for quite a few things was Sally Arthur. So now Sally helped me at a time where I trained in lots of flower therapies. I had a diploma in flower essences, but it wasn't my specialty. I used it alongside my stress management work. I'd done a course for a year in it, but I wouldn't say it was my specialty, because stress management, something I'd done, and meditation and all that was something that I taught basically through my ears, because I'd done so much work in that area for many years. So I had, as an empath, I had the psychic phenomena that I was experiencing and what I was seeing and feeling at a vulnerable time in my life, which was making me very ill, because I was feeling everything to such a degree, and I was using all these flower essences and nothing was hitting the point. It just wasn't doing it strong enough. And I went to Sally, and at that time she helped me greatly with certain things to get through certain processes. And we all go through certain phases, and we find, and it's to do with the problem we have. The problem that I had, I felt that she was the most aligned because she understood energy and psychic phenomena in a different way than some other flower essence practitioners. And she was using a multitude of approaches. And also from her, it was suggested that I go and I used quite a few of the indigo essences, which were brilliant for me, because I wanted particularly the children's ones. The children's indigo essences work brilliant for me. So again, it's funny how, and I valued that, and there are certain things that we, at certain stages in our life, we really value because it solves a big problem. When you're creating a business, you build your business about that big problem that you can really solve for your audience, right? Now, sometimes the problem you solve isn't the huge problem, but it's a basic foundational problem, right? But it's understanding that, and understand what you're selling, what level you're selling at, and understand the perceived value of that from your audience's eyes. Also, it's about, if they don't understand the perceived value, and they maybe are a wee bit naive, because it's like marketing and business. If someone's never invested in business and marketing, they probably don't know the difference by someone that's just at foundational level and someone that really knows what they're talking about and really understands, or someone that's all from specialized stuff. It's like my archetypal stuff. Most people don't understand a lot of the stuff that I teach would normally cost people thousands and thousands of pounds, because it's a highly specialized area. And also, the way I do it, I combine it with so many things, and I combine it on a spiritual level. But if you're not that way inclined, and you don't understand any of that, and you are not a certain level, you may need help to see the perceived value, and it may take a little bit more time, because it's about how you see the world, how you see business and market, right? It's the same as your clients. Sometimes the higher the value of your products or services is to your audience, sometimes it's about, you have to show the proof. And that's why I always suggest to a lot of people, they should actually consider doing beta testing and getting people to try out, if they've got a new program out or they're doing things, to get feedback. And if it's good feedback, then they ask for testimonials, right? Because people need proof. And sometimes when we create programs, particularly, we assume everyone's going to get certain things out of it. Sometimes we have to understand that is what we think they're going to get out of it at that point, and what they will get out of it is different, and it can be to do with where they're at in their life. So there's certain situations I've invested in certain things very early on, 30 years ago, 32 years ago, invested in things, and I didn't really get, I got some things out of it, but I didn't understand it fully because I wasn't spiritually awake enough, right? And it's not been till later life that I understood things. And there's other things that I invested in, I thought, that, my God, that's crazy. Now I wouldn't look at it as crazy. And my perceived value of it is completely different. So it's so important that when you look at alignment and perceived value, you see it from the audience's perspective, right? And help them see the benefits, but also understand that alignment, you can't make someone aligned to you, right? And that's why I am all about soul clients, right? Now, if you're new to all this and you're not sure what a soul client is, I have a free course, What is a Soul Client? And I'm going to put the link below. this video, and it'll help you explore why you should be focusing on soul clients. If you want more help with your business marketing, the Spiritual Marketing Club membership has 3 different tiers, which gives you access to all sorts of courses, thousands of pounds worth of great content that can help you build and grow your business. But I want to offer you just to tell you something that I'm doing just for December, right? I'm going to offer a 7-day trial, right, to the Lightworkers Toolkit, right? And by accessing the Lightworkers Toolkit, you automatically get access to Monday's Lightworkers Circle. So if you want to join the Lightworkers Circle on Monday, one way you can do it is by signing up for a 7-day trial of the Lightworkers Toolkit. And what's the Lightworkers Circle? Well, it's a support circle to support Lightworkers, awakened Lightworkers, through this time, because we are all trying to awaken everyone up. We're trying to support society at the moment, right? We're trying to help them forward, but we also need support ourselves. It's a place where you can have a little chat. Obviously, it depends on numbers. Everyone, we just have, everybody has to have a small amount of time, but it is a time that we all get to support. Some people don't want to talk, they just want to sit and listen. And then I usually do some sort of healing, a bit of meditation or a healing session at the end. I'll be doing an energy clearing on Monday night, and that is on between 7. In fact, I will extend it on Monday to 7 to 9. You don't have to stay to the 9, but I will extend it to 7 to 9 for anybody who wants to attend. So I'm going to put the link for that below as well. So have a lovely weekend, and just remember, alignment, you can't make someone align to you, right? And raising your vibration, of course, always helps, as it helps clear sabotaging behaviors. But I attract, a lot of people that sometimes are very confused by who their ideal audience is, and they're either very generalized, they're focusing on a too wide audience, or they're focusing on who they want to be their audience rather than who's perfectly aligned right now. And often your audience is can be also the audience, your ideal audience is their starting point. So for example, you may take people on a journey and they start with some modality, and you may say, for example, if you're a teacher, you might take them on and start off with the basics. Like, for example, one side of my work, I get a lot of people that have never done any sort of healing therapies, even or spirituality before. So that side of the business, I bring people in that way, and they end up coming into the other stuff. Now, some of it can be a wee bit much for them, because at the other side of my business, I'm working with healers that have worked 20, 30 years. They've been awakened for 20, 30 years. So there's a whole different, the complete dimensions, but I'm still reaching people at the beginning of the point. So, and I do know that most of my, as if I talked to soul clients, are mostly more awakened because they are ready for more stuff, but that doesn't mean that I don't attract other audiences. But in my Spiritual Marketing Club, I'm very conscious, and that's an area that this area is more where my business is getting into, is I focus mostly on my soul clients, and that's more the more mature healer who really wants to live their purpose and really wants to refine. They know they're not just a healer, they know that there's something else, and there's more to them, or they might be teaching. Okay, so have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Thank you for anyone who watches, and I'll be uploading this also to YouTube. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.